is public input. So do we have members of the public that have input for the meeting? If not, I mean, do we have, are these guys on the agenda?
They are. Yep.
Okay, so,
Yep.
so no public input? Hearing none, we'll close public input. All right, what do we got next on the agenda? 'Cause mine's still
Minutes.
open up.
Consideration minutes.
Okay, did we get, and we got the minutes from
We
the
did.
last
I sent
meeting?
them out.
That was like right after, right? It was.
No, I sent them out a couple days ago, before the weekend. I sent them out, I think Thursday or Friday.
So do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Everyone read them? Did you read them?
I read them, but
Yeah.
I wasn't here, so I can't verify them.
Okay.
So 301
Yes.
Yep.
carries. Okay. All right. And what do we got next?
Facility and field requests.
All right, we do have the one request that we got today.
That was the same request we got the other day.
Oh, it's just a written version of it?
Yeah, I think so. It was because they were both the troop request to use for the.
Okay, so that was the one that came in on the 18th.
Right.
Okay, all right.
So we
Okay,
have a
so
request. It's from the Cub Scouts.
So
for-
June 17th,
From like 8
date
to
is that?
8 a.m. to
To Sunday.
Oh, it's Father's Day.
Yeah. That it would be, yes.
Okay.
So is softball done at that point? At least the rec softball?
Yes. And let me just check the calendar for them. June 17th.
Well, they want talent hall as well.
Yep. There's softball should be done. I mean, barring rain. But I don't think they'd be playing on Sunday anyhow.
And then we've got,
And she's looking for 11 to 6. So
but that would be a conflict in talent with pickleball, right?
Right.
Because they go 12:30 to 3:30. So we have to.
so she's
contact-
only need field and pavilion. Oh,
No,
although
she
she
has
did check
talent.
off talent. I
Talent is
see that.
checked off
Yeah,
too,
she
yeah.
did check off talent.
So I think she only needs one of the fields. She doesn't need all of the fields.
Right.
The pavilion. And if I remember correctly, they used talent just for,
I think the kitchen to prep or something, and then
and then possibly if it rains, obviously they're going to bring more of the activities
Yeah.
in there.
and the bathroom.
I'm sure if we asked pickleball will be fine with
I'm
it.
sure they would.
They,
Yeah.
they, they,
Really,
have,
the only ones using it. So, I mean, they can probably, with enough notice, they can move.
they can slide
earlier
too,
or later.
yeah.
So do we have a motion on the request?
I'll make a motion to approve the request of Boy Scouts to use the Pavilion Field 1 in Town Hall from 11 to 7 on June 17th.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
Well, it's contingent upon them reaching out to pickleball.
I think we usually reach out to pickleball.
Well, no. Well, for leagues, we leave the leagues. We have the leagues reach out to
Right.
pickleball. This is not a league. This is Boy Scouts. But in all our other cases, we have the leagues reach out.
Okay.
So, Annie, what would we do with this one if it's?
I mean, we can contact
Club.
pickleball and just say, and ask them if they can move. If they can't, then we'll just let them know that, because if we approve this contingent on them being able to move, then we can take that part of the request out and just say, okay, well, here's the deal, and, sort of have the discussion. I don't really foresee that pickleball would have an issue with it.
So the only thing, right now at this point, she has talent checked, but she didn't specify what she wanted in talent. Does she want the whole talent? Does she want just the kitchen and in the bathrooms? She didn't say, right? It doesn't say. She just checked off talent.
She just said checked off talent in the email. She wrote talent hall. She didn't say specific portion of talent hall. She just said talent
So
hall.
do we just ask? Do we just tell Pickleball that it's been spoken for that day?
We can do that.
So June 17th.
We asked them ask them if they can move to 8 to 11 that morning.
Yeah, and then they can also go after.
Move down to the morning, you mean?
7.
Yeah.
That's kind of. I mean.
Well, no, sometimes they've been doing them in the evening.
For okay. Well, either way.
I mean, might as well offer it.
Yeah.
So you're saying move down to the morning or move up to the evening?
Well, they could do both.
Yeah, it's open. Okay. All right. So who's going to reach out to them? I don't mind. Want me to contact them?
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great. All right, and I don't know why my drive is not opening. All right, any further discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So motion carries 4-0-0. So, and Colleen, you'll take care of contacting. If there's any issues, just let us know and we'll make adjustments. But once that's okay, if you just want to make the change on the
Yep,
talent
I can do
calendar,
that.
so it shows. All right, can you read us the next? This thing's not
So we're done with field and facility requests. There's nothing else, right?
Yeah.
The only other request came in through email for that woman. I don't even know how we even do it. Just requesting to use the parking lot for the wedding. Now it's just in the evening. What'd she say?
Well, I mean, we really can't reserve the
No,
parking
we can't.
lot I mean, basically,
It's public space as well.
I would say we would make sure that, I don't know if we need to notify the police, but just let them know that if they see a large amount of cars parked there, there's not an issue.
It's for a wedding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just say,
Did she send you a time?
She said 1 to 9. And I would say we would need parking from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. for about 30 cars.
and what day is it?
October 21st, right? It's a Sunday.
Right.
So that conflict with any potential,
Fall ball's on Saturday.
Soccer.
That's late anyway. Right?
There's no soccer there.
Softball's done at that point. There's no softball activity in October.
There's no soccer there. Not at Dara. Not on the Sunday
right?
in October.
The only thing that we might have, but they've moved down to Sawmill, is that use that tournament from Tabernacle, right? But that would,
Yeah, I guess. But
so I don't really see. I mean, so maybe that, I don't even know if it's something we need to vote on. Just say, look, it's public parking.
Right.
We'll notify the police that it's okay, but we can't really reserve a parking
Right.
lot for you.
right.
So let the police department know, for her to let the police department know that there'd be vehicles parked there.
Yeah, just so that they don't want to. I mean, I don't know if they look at when they patrol it, they'll say, "What are all these cars?"
Right,
doing
right,
here?"
right. Okay.
Think this is an issue of some sort.
So I'll respond back to her and say, we have no problem with it, but probably best for you to let the
Heads up. Yep.
Can you do me a favor? Can you just share that with me so maybe I'll get it through the email instead of the drive? I don't know why the drive's not opening for me. I think I'll Google warn this thing out through Google. Thanks.
Yep.
All right, what do we have for our next agenda item?
All right. Next is
Here, I got it.
old business bylaws. Just an update. I was working on that. It's not where I wanted it to be for this meeting, so just want to give folks an update. I'm gonna continue to work on it, but didn't have it in enough of a draft form to bring it up tonight.
Tony Schaefer knows it is in the selectman's office. It's
is.
somewhere because it was turned in because we had to have one when we were first formed. So there's got to be something legally on file.
All right.
It's probably not much, but
Okay. I'll do some sleuthing, see if I can dig it up.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'll bring back a draft of something new. So,
Okay.
no other old business. So
Well, I forget. What is John on the call for?
I don't know.
John, what were you on the call for? You wanted to call.
Basketball coming down tonight to talk.
What did you say? Say that again.
Was it basketball coming down tonight to
Oh,
talk?
okay, so you wanted to be here for that. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was something about the 22nd in the walkthrough.
No.
Remember how that was going to happen? Did that ever happen?
That was today.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I say, yeah. I don't know.
Did anyone? No.
No.
Okay.
I think, yeah,
All right. So basketball's next on the agenda. So
Okay.
come on up.
So basketball's here. John is joining us.
Where do you want me?
Front and
Right
center.
there?
Right there.
Yeah. You can just introduce yourself.
My name is Nick Delia, representing the Litchfield Basketball Association, LRBL. Here to give you guys an update on what we came up with for the repairs at Talent Hall side hoops. The 4 hoops on the sides. One of them's coming out of the brackets in the wall. So I was able to investigate a little bit further with how those were originally installed, and they were not installed anywhere close to how structurally sound they need to be installed. The studs that are behind the plywood walls, which is what everyone sees. There's no sheetrock; it's all 5/8 plywood. It's metal studs behind there, not wood. So things were just lagged with a toggle bolt through the 5/8 plywood, and that's it. So there's no real question as to why they're coming down. The metal studs have no bearing on pull-out strength, and 5/8 plywood's not going to cut it over a long period of time. So that's the reason why those are coming down.
Okay.
So I talked with Dave Kidwell. I brought him in on another Saturday separate, and we went there and looked at it, and we determined that's my original viewpoint was that's what I see. He agreed. So I talked with him about a design on what we can do to beef it up, and I have a proposal here, taking the plywood out, putting some 4x4 blocks in between the studs, screwing them in laterally to the studs, and then putting a 2x12 even behind that, and then basically through bolting the whole entire thing to the existing backboards. It's not a lot of cost. Dave and I are willing to do this in a day and a half at no cost for labor. We're just looking for cost for the materials, and the LRBL is willing to just pay for that because we're only talking about $480 to do that. So I've got the proposal here that I've submitted to the LRBL. I'd be happy to give you guys copies of it. But I think that's all it is. Just a little bit of structural supports behind the walls, put things back together. If we can get the paint that's there and make everything look, similar to what it looks like there, I think it'll be back up and running and with really no issues in the future, because it will be plenty strong enough at this point. But I think that's what's going on. And I think that's why all the other ones, even though they haven't pulled out, why they're sagging. Same kind of thing. It's just a toggle bolt bearing on maybe a little bit of a metal stud, and pay for the materials because it's not a lot of money. It's not like we're looking for the rec association.
Taking them down, Nick's not a problem.
Yeah, no, we're going to get some scaffolding in there, take them all down, get in there, take the plywood out, expose the studs, make sure that everything is still the way it needs to be and that there's not any damage to the studs, which I doubt there will be. Because I don't think actually any of the toggle bolts are actually in the studs. I think they're just through the 5/8 plywood. Maybe it hit a stud, maybe it didn't. But even if it did, it doesn't offer any strength, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, and then put the blocking in there, put the 2x12 on the back side, and then through bolt the whole entire thing, coming through at the same locations that basically the 4 bolts come through now, and then attach everything the way it originally was designed to be attached for that particular backboard and rim. Okay. Put it back together.
Okay.
Yeah, it seemed pretty straightforward. I don't think there's going to be any surprises, and doesn't look like it's anything that needs to be engineered. I tried actually talking to the backboard manufacturer, and they didn't want any part of telling us how to do it. They told us to get a structural engineer involved. And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't think it's necessary to do that. And that's why I brought Dave in. The reason why I'm the owner of Sabre Concrete Repair. Originally, we thought it was anchored into the concrete wall. So that's why they asked me to take a look at it, since I'm involved with concrete and anchoring and brackets and all that stuff. I'm like, I'd be happy to look into it. But there's like a 12 or 14 inch gap between the actual structural block wall and the plywood that is the inside face. So there's a dead space back there, probably for pipes and things like that that's back there, and nothing is tied into the concrete. Mm-hmm. So that's why I asked Dave Kidwell from Kidwell Builders to come in and kind of take a look at things with me, because he's a little bit more geared for the typical construction studs and plywood and things like that. So it was his design on what to do to beef it up and how to get that support. So I'm just going to give him a hand doing it.
Okay. Do you want to have anybody want to make a motion, or John, do you have any thoughts on?
That's all. What he just said is all in line with what Kevin is suggesting anyway. Taking them down, reinforcing between the metal studs, and putting it back up. So it's right along with what Kevin has to have done.
Okay.
All right. Have you talked to?
I said you're right in line with what Kevin has to have done.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I would say the one thing I would like to see done, just the last step, and I mean, personally, I don't know, we can all discuss it, but maybe have you talked to Kevin Lynch?
No, I have not spoken with Kevin yet. We'd be happy to, on the day that we get it opened up and have him come in and take a look at it, just to make sure that everything that we planned on doing is the way it was. Or I can certainly talk with Kevin and just give him a shout out and give him the proposal, talk about. Yeah, I mean,
I think probably the best thing to do, at least, is talk to Kevin ahead of time, make sure you guys are on the same page.
Yeah.
And once you open it up, let Kevin take a look as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And I sort of like to have his input. I don't know how you guys feel.
Except, are we allowed to do anything without Kevin's input? Structurally, are we allowed to do anything structurally?
I don't think that's really a structural. I guess it kind of is for the hoops themselves, not. Yeah, because I mean, I guess it would liability wise be open us up.
Andy?
Yep.
There is no structure to that. It's literally just holding the 2x4s up. I mean, there's 2x8s or 4x8 for plywood. That's all it's holding up. The metal 2x4 sheathing, if you want to call it, the structural support. It has no structural integrity at all. According to Kevin, he said just take a saw, cut the plywood away, and put up brackets, and then put the plywood back up.
All right.
Yeah, just the brackets, we're just using 4x4 blocks in between the studs for those, and then Dave thought that it would be a good idea to put a 2x12 even behind that, so that you're not just pulling on one piece of the 2x4. It'll bridge each individual 4-bolt pattern, and then just reinforce it in the backside even more. So kind of the same, very similar to what I think Kevin was saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So John, do we even need to reach out to Kevin?
I already have.
Oh.
What he's saying is fine.
So what Nick is saying is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
What they're saying is fine.
Okay.
Kevin's already said okay. What he's saying he wants to do is just great.
Okay.
If he could just let me know when they're planning on doing it, that would be great.
If he could just what?
Let you know
Let me know what he's doing.
Let me know the date.
The date.
And time.
Date and time. Okay.
It's Dave and I kind of thought that with a laborer that's included in the cost, one of Dave's guys to give us a hand, 3 of us, we think we can do it in a day. Is there a preference, weekday, weekend?
Pickleball schedule.
Yeah.
Hang on.
I mean, if you look at the calendar, the town hall. Let's look at the town hall calendar. I mean, really, because you guys are donating the time, whatever time works for you, I would say we can work around that.
Okay.
And we can just let them know that you're going in.
Okay.
I mean,
I'll look at some openings, and I will find out what works for Dave Kidwell, and then we'll come up with some ideas, and then we can see what's available. We'll try to work it out around a day that's available already, so we don't have to move anybody around. So
I mean, let's put it this way: they're in there a lot right now because there's no one else in there. So
But they also go outside a lot now.
Right, they do. And what I'm saying is don't, I mean, if you see them on there, don't base it around that. If you guys find a day, let us know. And then we can say, there's going to be stuff going on in there. You're going to have to go outside.
Okay.
So can you send an email, Nick, to our alias, rc@litchfield.nh.gov?
Okay. Yep.
That'll tell us what day.
I'll touch base with Dave and we'll look at some dates and then I'll send an email out.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank
Awesome.
you.
That's all I got.
Do we need to make a motion and vote, or is it just already all set?
I don't really think we need to vote because it's something basketball's doing.
Well, we need to reimburse them for the funds.
No.
No, we're doing it all.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
Yep.
you said you
We're going to
you
donate
wanted
the
to-
labor. And then because the cost for the materials was only $500, we just talked the LRBL meeting.
Oh, I'm
We're
sorry.
just
Okay, I
gonna
thought
do
it
it.
was.
Yep.
Okay, great.
So yeah, we're not asking.
All right.
Perfect.
Sounds like a done deal.
You guys want copies? I brought them.
Oh, if you can email them to us, that'd be
I can
good.
do that too. Sure.
That'd probably be
Yeah.
easier because I'll use that thing.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Next up.
All right. So
That's good, great, thanks, Colleen.
Thank you, John. All right. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you later, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, John.
Safe travels. Thank you.
All right, the next item is the poll pads. So I put it in the email.
Oh, yeah.
I did get the quote. So I went, because the company that manufactured the poles, I went through them originally, and it was about $500 and something a pole for the padding, which I was kind of astonished at. So that's why we sort of dropped it last year. I noticed that they had done them with GMS. So I contacted the person, the manufacturer that they used, and it's actually through a local distributor up in Goffstown. And he got us a price for all 4 poles. It would be $1,120 with shipping. He's estimating the shipping's a little high, but he just wanted it to be realistic for the 4 for pads for those 4 poles for protection. This is something that Jason Coleman asked us to do last year. And again, the funds would be coming out of the revolving fund because we actually put in $1,800 from what he gathered in fees last year. We paid out under $600 for the shirts and the mosquito spraying. We didn't wind up having to reimburse for the paint or any of that stuff that we first budgeted in for. So this would actually still be about $80 shy of what they took in for the revolving fund. And the idea of the revolving fund is money goes in, money comes right back out for the same thing. So I'll to start the discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 4 pole pads for the 4 hoops at Dara.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Is there any maintenance needed on them? Like, do they need to come down in winter season and stored somewhere, or are they?
They'll need to come down in the winter, yeah, and they'll just be stored upstairs. I'm a little antsy about leaving them out there all the time. I think that maybe we'll just, because they're held on with Velcro, so they're easy to put up and take down. It might be something that we
Can you
keep them for organized time. I'm just,
chain them on there somehow?
well, I'm not as concerned with them getting taken off because we could always secure them to it. It's where it's so far from the road, and it's easily could be cut into with, I could just see them getting shredded with a knife, something of that nature. I'd hate
So you're
to
just
see
talking
that.
about vandalism. then?
Right.
Okay.
Um,
But how has that? I mean, I don't know if they've ramped up police drive-throughs. I mean, we have the new hitting cages over there. Knock wood. I don't want to jinx us, but it looks good. I mean, there hasn't been the basketball nets look good. Things have been good lately. I mean, not that I don't think
let's put it
it
this
could
way.
be vandalized,
It's, realistically, when it comes down to it, we got to see how hard they ought to take on and off. If they're really heavy to take on and off, we're just gonna
Oh, no.
leave them on there and go from there, and we'll take them. You know what I mean? If basketball starts up, that second week of July, like it has been, and ends at the end of August, then we can leave them up for that and then take them down.
Mhm.
If they're easy enough to take on and off, then sure. But mean, realistically, at some point we have to, yeah, it's one of those things where you're sitting there going, okay, are we awaiting vandalism, or do we, give the benefit of the doubt and leave them up and see what happens? It doesn't look, the ones at GMS seem to be okay, and they've been up for a while. So,
Right.
I mean, who knows? Really, who knows? Because unfortunately, there's always that element of stupidity that might overtake some people and something gets ruined. But
Yeah.
I mean, I really think it'll end up coming down to how difficult it is to pull them on and off.
And I mean, it is, it's more for when games are being done out there. When people are just shooting around, it's not an issue. But when you have people doing full court and they're going full speed, there were some close calls last year with kids coming close to that pole, and I'd rather not have that. So, and the other thing that we can talk about is color. He said they can get them basically in any color. I was thinking something dark so that if somebody did have a Sharpie and they wanted to write something on there, it wouldn't really show up. So instead of like a red so I was thinking, he said black. That's what he suggested. So.
Okay, so you can order them and get them in soon?
Yeah, you can order them and get them in for the summer season. And that way when basketball uses it, because I know they used it for a couple of skills things, just, have them there for that as well. All right. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor? And opposed? So it carries 4-0-0. So I'll contact them and I'll probably I'll talk to Troy and just make sure it's the best. We use the method that's best used for getting it out of the revolving fund. All right. Christmas in Litchfield.
All right. So there's a group that's come together to look at doing some kind of activity around the holidays, do like a tree lighting or something like that in town. I volunteered to be a liaison between them and this committee. So they have a question for us. So they're pretty well organized and they want to do some fundraising now, but they don't have a place to put it. They're not really an organization. So they wanted to ask if the revolving fund could be used for that. So I didn't know the answer to that, but is that something that can be used for an entity that's not an actual entity, but I don't think
they would have to be part. They would actually have to register as volunteers for the Recreation Commission. We would have to make that a committee, and then any monies that are put in there would have to be approved for us to be spent for a specific thing. So it would hinder them a little bit as far as expedience. They wouldn't. It's not like they have a checkbook.
Yeah.
And we need to buy this. I can go get it. There'll be a few hoops for them to jump through. But if it is something that's a committee of ours, then the revolving fund can be used for it. But again, it would have to.
You started talking about fundraising too and everything. Now they're going to need they need a tax ID number. They need all sorts of things too, right? Yeah.
So what they need the tax ID number for?
Well, if they're through us, they wouldn't need it.
Well, they wouldn't need it through us, correct?
Okay, yeah.
Otherwise, they need to establish themselves being a nonprofit.
So that's what they were looking into, but they're like, it seems like a lot.
No, and I agree. So they could. So it is coming under us as an option, being a subcommittee of us. Everyone on that board would have to register, as Andy said, as a town volunteer.
What does that entail exactly?
Not much.
Filling out pretty much the application we filled out when we joined.
And they'd have a background check done on them. And
Yes, it'd almost be like when we had Winterfest.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We were able to utilize the those funds, the revolving funds, but any monies we made from Winterfest went back into the revolving fund.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
but we could purchase the T-shirts, we could pay for the dog sleds and all that out of the revolving fund, and then charge tickets and get that money back reimbursed.
from what basically the easiest way I understood the revolving fund is it's supposed to have a net zero, every year. It's just if we start with 5,000, it should be 5,000 at the end of the year. I mean, that money should be going in and out.
So they're looking to come under us, utilize the revolving fund, and then how are they going to reimburse the revolving fund?
Well, they're not really sure. So let me ask this. So if they raise $100,
right?
They put that into the revolving fund.
Well, you're going to go buy a tree for $100.
Yeah.
You get to access the revolving fund to take that money.
Yeah.
No, he's talking about fundraising.
Yeah,
first,
they're
putting
talking about
money in.
fundraising first. So they're gonna put the money in first. So
And use
getting
that
it
money.
out isn't.
Yeah. So why would you want to do that? Like Andy said, it would almost be faster.
Well, there are a lot of hoops. I mean,
It
once
depends
it's
on
set
how
up,
you
it would be
fundraise.
easier, but trying to become nonprofit. I mean, it's expensive. It's like $500 or $600 just to
Right. Oh yeah. to
go
do
through
all
the
that.
process
Yeah.
to
Right.
become a nonprofit. And then they have to have quarterly meetings and yearly meetings, and it's
No, I guess I'm just wondering why. I mean,
It's just like it's pretty much like Winterfest. They said instead of getting the money to reimburse the fund, they're putting the money in first and then getting the money out.
Okay.
So I mean, I think it's just they aren't charging at the end, but they're going to get the money. They're going to fundraise first to put the money in, then they can take the money out and go from there. And yeah, it might be a little bit slow of a process, but
right, because they were already raising their own money. I'd almost like just say just use your own money, but if they want to do it, that's fine. I just didn't know.
I mean, we might be best to have you, if you can talk directly to Troy Brown, because he would probably know a lot better, with the legal ramifications of it, and to make sure that we're not steering in the wrong direction.
Right. Because
but
if
then-
they're already fundraising and you're already getting your own money, is it just
I think it's because when they're fundraising, they're going to they have like an actual entity that the funds go to versus just, John Q. Public is going
Okay.
to hold the cash for the next 6 months.
Got it.
Right. So
Okay.
it's-
something to put somewhere to put it?
Right. I mean, a suggestion I would have for them, if he doesn't feel it could be something that's done through us, a second option might be to go to a local group, the Lions Club or something, and run it through them.
It's like a fiscal agent.
Yeah. So that would I would look at that after us, if even like basketball or, just another group that is already a nonprofit, registered nonprofit, and they can sort of run it through that program, and they can sort of, I know, like at Pinkerton, every one of our classes takes on a community service project. It would kind of be nice, one of those groups could say, hey, this is our community service project. We're going to do Christmas in Litchfield. And,
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I'll reach out to Troy. I'll go back to the group, and
So they are moving forward. That's great.
they are. Yeah. It's awesome.
Now, is this going to happen at Christmas time, or is it going to be like?
That's a plan. Yep.
the plan was what? It was like right after Thanksgiving, wasn't it? Or like the original thought, like get it up there a week or two before.
Yeah. Right.
That was when they first came
December,
in. So
right.
yeah, it was a really good idea.
And did they
It's
have
really-
the location? Was it here or was it going to be at Dara?
I don't think they have that locked down yet.
Now, is it going to be a singular event?
Sounded like it.
I think they were building it around a tree lighting ceremony, but
Correct.
they were still
Okay.
kind of,
Yeah.
Because I know originally one of the things I talked to Kurt about when we were doing the Saturday night after Thanksgiving comedy nights is, I mean, there's a lot of activities, the Santa's breakfast, the pancake breakfast, all the different things.
Yep.
It'd almost be nice to sort of coordinate all those. You don't have to be all under the same group, but sort of organize it so that there's activities spread out. So it's almost, I have to decide between these three things that are all happening at once, or hey, you're Saturday, this one's Sunday, this one's the following Saturday. Almost have something every weekend. Would kind of be a nice thing to do for a town thing. So, all right. And tobacco policy.
yeah. So put this on there. So just something I've noticed, generally I'm, at all the parks I've been at, almost all the parents are really courteous about not smoking around the kids. However, I've had a couple instances where parents have just kind of been chit-chatting about people not respecting that so much. And generally people kind of self-police, right? But there's been a couple instances where parents have been smoking like on the fields around the kids. So I just want to ask if maybe we could look into having just a no tobacco policy on the fields. I think it's for many reasons, certainly health, but modeling for kids, the trash that it puts on the fields. I think 99% of smokers are really courteous, but boy, a cloud of smoke really ruins a moment for folks that are around it. So just wanted to suggest that and see if there was support for that. Or
Do we have? I don't even know. Do we even have a?
I don't
What is
believe we do.
What's that? You believe we do?
I don't believe we do.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, I would even say, it might be a good discussion to have with the selectmen, because it might be something they need to look at for just all town property. I mean, just the fields. I mean, it's obviously at the schools, because the schools
Right.
by law have to have that. but, you know, I don't know what the policy is here. I don't even see any signs saying,
I don't,
you know, and a lot of buildings say, no, you know, no smoking within 15 feet of building or,
Yep.
So I don't know what the town policy is, but I think it would be a good idea for us to look at one because we don't even technically have one at Talent.
I've never seen a sign.
No.
I don't. Yeah, nowhere.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
people could smoke in that building as far as we're, you know, as far as what we've posted or what we haven't posted.
Yeah, well, there's not a no smoking anywhere.
I'm trying to remember if there's one on any of the signage of the parks.
I don't
Yeah,
think
dusk
so.
to dawn.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to see if I have the picture of the one I had of it that I had on here, but who knows how long ago that was.
Well, I did those smaller ones, and those were modeled off.
Right, they were the same thing, and that's the picture I'm looking for, but I don't know if I can find the picture. I mean, I'm trying to remember how long ago we did it. Put those, how long have those signs been up? 3 years now? 2 years? 3? No, at least 3.
Well, actually 3 years, but I think I made them a year before that. And they were sitting leaned up against the shed for a while. Trying to think of what it would be under here.
So would this be something that we would even, I mean, the fields are our responsibility, I guess.
Correct.
So, but is it something, as Andy said, do we have to go to the selectmen first to find out what the rules are and then make a sign about it? Or how does that work out or play out?
I mean, I think we can govern the rules as far as what is done on
What's
the
down
right
the
property.
fields, oh yeah. We can,
But then you're going to get into the weird areas like you think of the new water access. That's not really our property, but we're responsible for it. So do our rules apply there? You know, it's a lot easier if we can just say this is town policy, any town property,
No smoking.
no smoking. And actually, there is there's no alcohol rule either.
Well, you can't have no? Oh, that was
No.
no open container.
Yeah.
So should we take it to Kurt and say something we could bring before selectmen? Because I think you're right. I mean, why not just make it across the board, right? I mean,
Right. Or at least coordinated with them if they say, no, we don't want to do this, but, you know, maybe we can look at the surrounding towns and see how they post it and what they say. And, but it would just mean we'd have to post it everywhere too if we want to be able to hold people accountable to it. So,
Yep.
Yeah. So do you want to have the conversation with Kurt? Or
yeah, I'll reach out to Kurt. Yeah.
And that is it for new business. Any other business?
I don't think we've missed any emails. I think everything's come in. We've come into our quiet time. So next month being June, July, and August, we typically drop down to one meeting a month, right?
Right.
So it's, I believe, if I recall correctly, it's usually the first, so the second Tuesday we've kept, right?
So it'd be June 12th.
So it would be June 12th and then July 10th and August 14th, if that's correct. Those would be the next three, dropping down to just one.
right.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in the, Andy, you still have your fall. You don't do anything in the summer for
No,
talent.
because there's not really any
Ramps
request
up
for
in
it.
the fall, right?
Right.
Okay. A town hall scheduling meeting.
Right. No other business?
I do have while you're here, I have a question. What about the painting of the court?
I asked Kurt about that, and he and Troy are working on it. I guess that they said it's in process.
Okay.
So,
Because that is in our budget this year, right?
Right.
To get done.
so the other, and maybe the one thing I do want to address, and we were going to do it last year, but we didn't wind up doing it out of the revolving fund, and we won't have any money in the revolving fund. The other thing I wanted to do after they paint it is I do want to drop some posts of some sort to keep vehicles off the court.
Mm-hmm.
So Kurt had said he'd go over there with the auger and drill the holes for us, so we can do that and just get some 6x6 posts, get some 6-footers, drop them 3 feet in the ground, they're 3 feet up, space them every 6 feet, and that way nothing can get through them. And eventually, if we want to put things on them to make benches out of them, we can do that. But at least the primary thing is going to be keeping vehicles
Yep.
off of there,
I agree.
especially those umpires.
Yep. But I agree. It's definitely something you don't want destroyed. It's too nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, driving on it is one thing, but it's when cars park on it and they just start
Right.
settling it
Yep.
Well, now you mean once
And
it's
hot-
painted,
hot weather.
you definitely can't do it anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Defund the sign. There's nothing about smoking. So,
What does it say?
park rules, open to Litchfield residents, guests, park hours, 6 a.m. to dusk, no alcohol, no glass containers, no fires, dispose of trash and recyclables appropriately. Leash and clean up after your pet. Pets must be kept outside the fence during youth activities. That's one we added for summer.
What's that?
That was added. That one's
added?
not a Dara. That one's a
Sawmill.
Right.
Brickyard. But yeah, so it doesn't say anything about smoking.
Okay.
All right.
No other business? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned.
Very good.
So for cable, do you guys need to know our new schedule?